You're never going to win the fight against corruption until you're able to show our people that there are consequences. I can make a fancy argument about why it's important to deal with prevention, why you need a whole government, all society approach. But the public has to support our efforts. And the public will only be convinced that our efforts are sincere and that they can have impact once they see brazen cases of corruption, whoever they may be, are properly investigated and prosecuted. We're not seeing that yet, but I also think that the investigation, that there are problems with PRECA. The PRECA definition is too complex. That makes it very difficult to prove. Our prosecutors are often, there's an inequality of arms. On the other side, they're often very clever SCs on the other side, well-funded, who know how to milk the system. Well, maybe I'm being a little bit unfair, but who know how to defend their clients. And often their clients are criminals. So there are always challenges in the fight against mafia-type cartels. Many of you will recall, well, maybe my generation, but I mean, Mr. Al Capone was never prosecuted for his crimes. He was prosecuted for tax evasion, but they put him away. So we are going to have to get smart about dealing with the gang violence in the Western Cape now. These are very wealthy people. They preside over sophisticated business structures. They can hire the best lawyers, and they are funding young unemployed people in desperate communities where the services are inadequate, where development is failing. That's why they are susceptible to recruitment. So if we want to fight crime, we also have to ensure that we work towards fairness in our society, that we have a developmental agenda that empowers our people with hope, with futures, because otherwise we will lose the battle.
Now, just when we thought that standard of proof is different. So you go in, you conduct an investigation, and on balance, on a balance of probabilities, you see now there's clearly been malfeasance, misconduct, and so on, and corruption and theft. But it's and then you like the SOEU does, they freeze the assets, take the money back, it goes into state coffers. But the people involved, like Tembisa Hospital, or like this Netcare Tshwane medical aid thing that was cancelled, the people involved do not get convicted and sentenced to jail.
So one part of our recommendations concerned prevention of what we call systemic corruption. You have to be able to dismantle corruption before it becomes endemic in the systems. But you're quite right. You have to be able, you have to investigate and prosecute individual cases of corruption under PRECA. And that is where we, as a country, we have made some progress in terms of institution building. I think, for instance, the establishment of IDEC as a more independent body. But the capabilities that are required have to be built, rebuilt, because they were also hollowed out. And that's going to take time. All of them have made important findings over the years that, if implemented, would have prevented us from being in the situation that we are currently in, which I insist is a moment in time, in the history of this country. It's a moment. You know, countries go through cycles. with the best institutions. Countries go through cycles. We are going through a cycle. We will come out of it if we do the right things. If we tell the truth, this inquiry process, this process that you are leading, of our democratically elected parliament, carrying out its responsibilities to inquire into the allegations made by General Mkhonazi, one of a part of the officer corps in the country, and of course the Madlanga Commission. So we can change the picture, and I'm hoping that your inquiry in the Madlanga Commission is going to help with the reset. So crime intelligence, IPID has to be strengthened. I think IPID, we should perhaps be looking at, IPID deals with individual cases, but those individual cases reveal patterns that need attention, systemic problems. And I think perhaps there, we also in the ministry perhaps have missed a beat. You know, that there is information in the IPID reports. And they met all their targets. They exceeded their targets. But in fact, that might tell us actually not only that they're meeting their targets, but there's a growing problem. Why are there so many investigations? Why are so many more matters coming before IPID? And do they have the resources that they're going to need going forward? Because they've also got a considerable backlog. So IPID's important. Crime intelligence, you raised the issue of organized crime. We're not going to win the battle against organized crime if we don't tackle the problems in crime intelligence, which are about accountability, but also about capability. Now, one of the questions that troubles me, and we need an answer. Why is it these problems in crime intelligence have emerged in all these reports and oversight documents, processes that I've talked, but it's over a period of time it's become worse. We haven't been able to use the system to self-correct. I mean, we should be able, where there are red flags, where problems are identified, there needs to be corrective action. The SAP's report before the Auditor General showed that there hasn't been deterioration over the last year. But the Auditor General had raised many questions in the previous audit which were perhaps not fully and properly followed through on. So there's a lot that we can do to correct the problems that are now unavoidable. We now know more and more of the truth. We know more and more also about what needs to be done. And I think this process is going to help.